10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, listen to this. Everyone on Sesame Street is always talking about love. Yuck. But now it's time for me to tell you what Oscar the Grouch loves. The thing that Grouches love best of all.
Oh, I love trash, dirty, or dingy, or stuffy, or anything ragged, or rotten, or rusty, or rusty. Yes, I love trash. If you really want to see something trashy, look at this. I have here a sneaker that's tab. It's all full of holes, and the laces
of all of this
are torn.
horrific stuff that's floating around. And so it's a very cool thing. Oh wait, hang on. Oh,
Have to wear something ethical and sustainable.
well, there we go. So let's get rid of this trash suit, right? Okay. Thank you very much. This is Lauren Wardley from Ethical Yachtwear. We're going to hear from her later. So we have a very ethically designed and created garment that you guys can see later. So thank you very much, Lauren, for schooling me on the blue economy. My name is Kitty McGowan. I'm the president of the U.S. Superyacht Association. And why is she here? I mean, I cloned myself for a very specific reason, for you to be out front greeting people. So get to work, silly girl. That is a disturbing sight to see. Oh, my goodness. How's everybody doing? Yes? It's, we just paddled in. It's a garbage day. Everything's crazy. And I just can't imagine that we're back here again in March already. How did this go so fast? It's insane. And so I hope that that you guys are ready for a very cool panel, because the world has changed. And it's been a crazy ride, and it's and I cannot see. Can we see on this screen what the slides look like? We're having a little bit of social and technical difficulties, so let's just do this. How many of you guys here are members of the U.S. Superyacht Association? That makes me very happy. For those of you that are not members, I know you're not going to want to put your hands up, because then we're going to shame you into it. But if you're not members, talk to the people at your tables, because we are the only organization that is truly focused on making our industry better. And educational opportunities like this to learn about such issues like the blue economy. I mean, has anybody ever heard of the blue economy before? You have? I know it's a very, very powerful statement in Europe and in other parts of the world, but it is something that's really been defining a lot of the different aspects of our industry and the economy in which we all go. It's a massive economic impact driver, and I know that my dear friend Susan Zellers, who's coming here from Ocean Exchange, has a lot to say about that. And so we're going to just keep going about the blue economy and how it is impacting absolutely every aspect of our industry, from, as we see with ethical yachtwear, from the engines and power, from the aspects of different technologies with electricity versus solar versus LNG, and all of these different aspects that are happening right now in the world in which we live are just a snowball effect. I mean, when you think about how big this problem is, and you're going to hear from a lot of our people, almost as big as that giant seaweed mat island that's floating towards us at a very high rate of speed, that's all based on those kinds of things. So we are going to today give you a perspective from different aspects, from the electrical industry, from the foundation industry with Ocean Exchange, to the, where are we? Where's Tony? We have, oh, we're catching up. This is great. We have things happening over in Europe with Lursen just is getting ready to do their Super Cosmos, their very first boat. The Superyacht Savannah, did Ted make it? I know he was pretty busy today, but he was the project manager there, one of the very first dual fuel vessels that are out there. But you can make a difference. And we're going to show you how today. This is not just a conversation. This is not just about happy, happy noise. We have people that are going to do great things for all of us. But while we're here, and the only time anyone's going to ever say that is that, let's open your phones, check in on social media, and tell them that you're here for the U.S. Superyacht Association, not to be confused with anyone else, the U.S. Superyacht Association, and check in and say you're here for the Blue Economy event at the beautiful Hilton Canopy. We moved this year. What do you think? Yes? I love it. Their food is great. The staff here is fantastic. So please make sure you share with them that. But as the U.S. Superyacht Association, we honor the fact that we are not just one of the largest proprietors of our industry, but we are a gateway to the rest of the world. So we have to, if I can get everybody to stand up for a quick moment, and we're going to do the pledge for the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag. You can join me, please. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. While we're behind the rest of the world on things, we're catching up very quickly, and that's in great thanks to, we have a fantastic board of directors, volunteers from pretty much everywhere around the country. If you don't mind, if you're here, I can introduce you, and if you stand. Our chair, Diane Byrne, Maggie Got News. We have Bert Fowles from IGY. He was going to make a pop-in. Let's see, Kate Pearson is our past chair from Safe Harbor. We're looking here at very small things. Joe Dargovich, I saw you here, one of our advocacy co-chairs. We have Monique Weber from the Great Northwest, Superyacht Northwest. Julie Perry. We have a lot of Julies, so this is a Julie Perry with a P, so I don't pop my Ps. If you see us on social media, it's a large part for her efforts because we've gone crazy on the internet right now. We have Dan Cowens, Zach. Is Zach here? No, he's not here either. Julie Berry, not to be confused with Julie Perry right here in front here. Our treasurer, John Fitzgerald, I know I saw him come in and grab all the way from Alabama. Thank you very much. I love Alabama. We have from our executive board here, I can't see. From our regions, what's that? Robert Allen from Robert Allen Law. He's our man. Everybody needs a good lawyer. So we're very blessed to have Bob. From our regions, Marty Marchant from Westport. Leah Yam, who's having her second child right now, so she couldn't be here. Jim Ruffalo, Burger Boat Company. I saw you. I know it's a lot nicer here today than it is up where you're from. Yes, it is. Mike Yorston from the Northeast. We have Scott. I saw Scott Walter here from the Mid-Atlantic, and Cliff DeFreitas from the Southeast. Our at-large board members, Jim Baroulis, Audrey Hodgson, Chuck Levere. I saw you come in here. Thank you so much, Chuck, with Edmonds West. James Maitland, always a good face and a sign in the crowd that I always like to make me smile. And it wouldn't be right without my brother, Tom McGowan over there. He keeps me smiling as well. Ted McCumber, who couldn't be here now. Melissa Orlick. Josh Goldbranson, I saw him walk in. Josh is brand new to the board. Thank you so much, from Fraser. And J.B. Turner from Maine. I'm sure he would rather be here than being freezing. I want to thank our board and everybody that gets involved with committees. We couldn't do it without you, but today we couldn't do this without our sponsors. So I want to say again, thank you to Jim Ruffalo and Burger Boat Company, our platinum, our diamond sponsors, and our gold sponsors, Marine Group Boat Works and Engineered Yacht Solutions. Tom McGowan, thank you so much. And our silver sponsors, Axo Nobel. I saw Big Jim here, and CBRE. Thank you, Julie. Cross Chartering Yacht Transport. Thank you so much, Paul Haber, who's sliding in the back there. Marshall Islands Registry. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Super Yacht Northwest. Monique's getting it over there. Suntex Harbor, Suntex Marinas, which is great. Savannah Yacht Center. Anybody here from Savannah? Oh, right here in front. Sorry. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Saunders Yacht Works again, and Shore Premier. We love all you guys. Thank you so very much. Our bronze sponsors, Alexio, Marina Coast Peru. I saw, where'd she go? Antonella over there, and the Baker House. And of course, Yachtco, our partners for our website and all things going. A lot of really cool stuff happening with Yachtco this week, so stay tuned. But as everybody says, behind every person, there's a team of amazing people to make it look so effortless. And if you please give a big round of applause for my team, Julie Sack. This is truly the Suicide Squad. We have people here from the West Coast, from Massachusetts. We're like calling it an airstrike. I need staff, we need bodies. So we have wonderful people from all over the country who just never been here before in this environment. So be nice to my team. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. They work very hard, and we have Diane's coming back for us on the Inspire Initiative on Friday. So who are we at the U.S. Superyacht Association? We are a nonprofit trade association that's sole purpose was designed to represent the large yacht industry. And when I say represent, promote, support, it's about all of us. And we see it happening all over the world where people go, super yachts, bad. And yet, we're just kind of a misunderstood organization, misunderstood industry. They think that wealth is bad, but what we actually do bring is a massive amount of economic impact to the world. We have over 380 members now in 25 states and 27 countries. So while we are the U.S. Superyacht Association, we are really about representing the superyacht industry. We really excel in advocacy. We're going to do the American Boating Congress again this year in May. We've passed legislation. We've testified before Congress. We represent all of our collective voices there. So it's a really important job. So we really need all of you. So at your local levels, everybody knows that, well, you don't, maybe you don't know, I ran for city commission because it really does matter at the local level. So if you're not involved with your city, your town, your country, your county, your whatever your different division is, because every state is different, get involved because it really does make a difference. And membership benefits, besides just the voice and the hammer that we can bring, benefits. We have an employee benefits program. I know I saw Lisa Samuels here. We have healthcare, disability, 401k, all of those things that you can use to keep, retain, and attract good and really talented individuals. So see Lisa, stand up and say, if you need training for OSHA, all of us are required to do that. So it's if you're a member, it's free. That's right. If you write your check, which is really small, you can train your entire team on every aspect of OSHA 10, and there's different aspects of the training that they're bringing out now. So there's a lot of great opportunities. Social media, as I said earlier, is going bonkers. We're really beating out even some of the media companies. So get involved. If you want to have a face on our social, just reach out to Julie Perry, not Barry, or any of our team. They'll help you out. And if you're interested in golf, we have a busy week this week. We haven't been back to the Palm Beach Boat Show with a pavilion in 5 years. So tomorrow night we are having our paella event on the promenade. If you haven't signed up or haven't registered, you can just do that. That would be great. If you like to play golf, we have a lot of captains coming. So if you want to spend a day golfing with captains on April 14th, all of that can be found at ussuperyacht.com. So I want to leave enough time for our people to talk about this fantastic thing called the Blue Economy. I'm delighted to have Susan Zellers from Ocean Exchange. If you want to come on up here. Robert Van Tol from the Water Revolution Foundation. Tony Gilbert from the International Seakeeper Society, Richard Strauss from Teak Decking Systems, Eddie Dennison from Yacht Sales International. Everybody knows that name, and so he's got a lot to live up to, so we're happy to have you here. And we've already seen Lauren Wardley from Ethical Yachtwear, and of course, our fantastic moderator, chairman of the U.S. Superyacht Association for 20, what year is this now? Unlike Fort Lauderdale, where I had the accident on the way to the show, I had a car accident again on Thursday, and so I'm a little scrambled, so I forget. So please give a big round of applause to Diane Byrne, Mega Yacht News, who is going to be moderating this panel, and we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers because this is the thing that matters. You can get involved and make a difference. Let's give it up for Diane.
Those of us with short legs cannot hop the stage over there, so. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. We're really happy to see such a great crowd. I'm going to see if I can actually put this back in instead of holding it. Hold on a minute. There we go. Okay, can you all still hear me? Good. Oh, maybe I should hold it. Okay, never mind. Panelists, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Real quick, before we have our panelists all introduce themselves and give you more background on what they do, Katie before asked if you all know what the blue economy is. And there were just only a few hands that went up, so we're going to actually go over what that is. Real briefly, the blue economy challenges us to think different, to realize that sustainably relying on ocean resources requires collaboration and partnerships across all sorts of sectors and across borders in ways that we have not done before. And it's not just our industry, it's every industry in the world. Now, that sounds like a pretty big challenge, and it definitely is, but small steps, like everything else, are what make the difference. And our panelists are going to help you see that you can not only take your first steps, but you will do so in helping your community grow, and helping your business grow, and helping grow jobs for this industry that we are all dedicated to. So, without further ado, let's have our panelists introduce themselves, and we have a couple of slides that will appear that will give you even more information. Susan, why don't you please start?
Thanks. So I'm Susan Zeller. Some of you may remember me from, I was the head of the Maryland Marine Trades Association for years, and moved to Florida about 2 years ago and was lucky enough to find this wonderful position with Ocean Exchange. Ocean Exchange is a nonprofit, and we basically give money away to startups in the blue economy. We're agnostic as to the type of solutions that we look for. A lot of them are within the yachting industry, but really we support sustainable solutions for the blue economy. Super fun job to have at this stage in my life.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were having it ready.
Yeah, no, we are. Yeah. Was that the last slide for her or no?
Oh, you want me to go through all the slides? Okay, we should have had a rehearsal here. I'm just not ready. Okay, can we go back to the other one, the next last one there? Okay, here we go. So I was asked to start by giving that little definition of the blue economy, but we've already had one a little bit here from Diane. But this is from the World Bank, and there's sort of obviously an authority on what the blue economy is, and it's a great little graphic there that shows you how much is intersecting with the blue economy. We work a lot in decarbonization and also, as I said, in the maritime transport industry and ocean energy. So there's so much that encompasses that. So if you just think of it as everything ocean and everything that touches it, and some of that also that touches it will be freshwater things, because eventually that makes its way into our saltwater as well. Next slide, please. So the value of the blue economy is about 2.5 trillion annually, which is obviously pretty substantial. And we support solutions in all different technologies, as I said, a lot of the circular economy for plastics. In fact, a few years ago when Ocean Exchange started, we're in our 12th year now, that's all we saw was the plastic solutions. I think it all started, we had one of the people that started Ocean Exchange was an ex-Coca-Cola executive, and he was tired of seeing the plastic floating in the oceans, including the plastic bottles floating in the oceans, and said, we've got to do something, and came up with Ocean Exchange as a way of supporting and funding solutions for the blue economy. Next slide. So the maritime sector, there's a lot of solutions happening within that. There is a lot of life cycle assessment tools. There's different fibers being used for boat building, flax and basalt. We're replacing petroleum epoxy resins with linseed oil. You're seeing solar panels on boats now, marine wind generators, and of course biofuels and hydrogen as a fuel as well. Next slide. So Ocean Exchange, as I said, we fund these solutions for a sustainable blue economy. I'm just going to run through a very few of them that actually do touch within the yachting industry. Tide Tech, some of you may be familiar with, they were a 2013 finalist with us. They're on board most of the racing yachts now. They take current wave and weather data and put it together for speed optimization. Salient Predictions was a finalist this year. Finally, we're seeing some really good predictions of weather using land surface data and combining that with machine learning. So we're going to be able to hopefully get rid of spaghetti models and do a little bit better about telling people where predictions and where the weather is going. Next slide. These two are just amazing. This was probably the biggest learning curve for me coming into this industry. Both of these folks basically pull carbon out of the air. 12, who was a 2015 collegiate winner and a 2019 Neptune winner, these guys are now in the $200 million range with Series B funding. They're providing fuel for Virgin Voyages and Air Alaska. So they're taking carbon out of the air and turning it into fuel. Amazing. Air Company, the same. Go ahead. Captain's Eye was a semifinalist for us this year. This is real-time alert for safety. They're taking and putting AI-based video on yachts and on shipping to try to keep the safety, security, and also operational, making them stay on the correct routes, etc. And finally, Whale Seeker. We're all talking about that on the East Coast right now anyhow. This is an AI tool called Mobius that detects whales and can be put onto boats to cut down on whale strikes. There's my information. Please, I'd love to talk more to any of you who want about Ocean Exchange, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Robert, I know a lot of people in this audience know who you are, but they may not really be familiar with everything that the Water Revolution Foundation does. So, do we have another live mic? There we go. Please tell everybody what Water Revolution Foundation does.
Thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Robert van Tol, Water Revolution Foundation. We're a collaborative platform that started 4 years ago from within the yachting sector. And it came from a realization like, okay, we are a fantastic industry with, as Kitty always is great advocating the economic impact, but it also has an environmental impact. And if we are able to cut down on that and improve on that, then we have even an even bigger and better impact as a whole. So we need to look at sustainability as the definition sounds, and that is economic, social, and environmental. If that is in balance, you are really one of the leading industries. And we can, because we have a great strategic opportunity that we have with such an affluent clientele and such a creative industry. If we can already accumulate all the influence, knowledge, experience in this room, imagine what we can do as a collaborative platform for the entire industry on this topic. So that's what we're organizing. We're a collaborative platform bringing like-minded companies together. There are a few slides more. I'm not sure if this is the right time to go through them. Yeah. But we collect best practices, so we need to learn from you. You are experts in your field. We bring the knowledge of environmental impact and assessment, but it's really that collaboration that brings us all further. So we spread knowledge, we have tools, we have an educational program. We want nobody to leave behind. If it's a topic that is uncomfortable or feels overwhelming, we really want to give you the starting point for the right sustainability path and be part of it. So inclusive and for in that way taking everybody on board of this collective journey. This is something that is a sort of religion for our industry. We need to think life cycle. So not only about operating, let's say the operational life of yachts, but also include the build and refit stage. And if you optimize for these 3 stages, you know you're really advancing in the right way. So this is something we keep advocating, to think already in the build and design stage about once the yacht will be in refit and how to optimize for that. So this is something that will come back hopefully more often and you will get familiar with. So we look at the yachts from an operational point of view. How do they in reality operate? Is our industry, our services, our products, are they in tune with how yachts are actually being used? So we found, and this is just a statistical analysis, that yachts are cruising 10% of the time, meaning they're not cruising 90% of the time. So we talk a lot about propulsion, about alternative fuels and engine possibilities, but we also need to look at how do they use their energy at anchor. How about when they are sitting in the marina, which is more than 57% of the time. So optimizing for that profile, looking at alternative solutions with this in mind. Then I think there's one more. So if you are really able to assess yachts and you have this operational profile, you can benchmark like an energy label on your car or on your house. That is something that we are developing also for yachts, because you need to have the right information to advise clients, but also as service provider or shipyard to know, okay, what is the yacht's environmental performance and how much possibility is there still to improve. So it's not only the existing, the new yachts where we can improve. We have a great responsibility for a growing existing fleet, especially coming here to South Florida, to be serviced and to be upgraded. So this tool is really able to help and guide you in making the right and most impactful decisions in order to upgrade the environmental credentials of the yachts. And this is how it could look like in terms of the scores of yachts and how you can compare within your size range, for instance, and learn from yachts that are scoring better. What have they done and how can we adopt those solutions as well? And solutions need to be verified. Let's say there's a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion for solutions out there. There needs to be a sort of neutral platform that says, okay, we have tested this. This is verified. You can trust this. You can embrace this and make sure it, let's say, it functions in the application you are considering, and you don't need to worry about, do I really trust this company or solution? That's something we can do all together, and we can make that a common practice to have third-party verification. But we're all not here if we are not able to enjoy the oceans. So it's a vital point, and not only to reduce environmental impact of our yachting fleet, but really to look after the ocean that we are saying that we are enjoying, and we are providing the lifestyle to be on the water. You need to take care of the quality of the water to continue that lifestyle and be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, Lauren, we saw your ethical yachtwear before, but tell us more about, sorry, we have Tony. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Tony, go ahead.
No worries. I do not have slides, but so I'll be brief. Just to let you all know, if you don't know, the International Seakeepers Society is a nonprofit, and what we do is we link the yachting community and industry to the scientific and academic communities. And there's just so much potential in this industry, in this world. And just like Robert gave us a statistic, 10% of the time, these boats are actually out there cruising. Most of the time they're not. But if those times when they're just not, chartering or being used by their owner, if they can go towards something greater, like the preservation and research that goes into conserving our oceans and its inhabitants, then that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's a great use of that resource. So by way of an introduction to myself and Seakeepers, I think that's sufficient. And we can, I'm sure we'll have Q&As later. So I'll go deeper into detail then. So I don't know who's next, but yeah.
Richard.
So good afternoon. I'm Richard Strauss with Teak Decking Systems. We're proud to be the world leader of manufacturing and installation of quality decks around the world. Our expertise extends from super yachts to commercial vessels to battleships to production boats. With 40 years of experience under our belt, we've installed over 40,000 decks worldwide with the help of our 135-member team who can install decks anywhere in the world. As far as sustainability, innovation is in our DNA. We've spent the last 10 years sourcing alternative materials, alternative woods, and testing for what we say the end of the runway with Burmese teak.
Thank you, Richard. Eddie. Yes. Catching you by surprise, sorry.
So my name's Eddie Dennison. Some people know me as Electric Eddie because I'm one of the guys that likes this electric boat world. Loved it so much I left my brother's company to go to Yacht Sales International. So we can work with Greenline, who does a hybrid electrical production boat. They're the only ones in the world that's been doing this since 2008. They've made over 1,000 boats. And what's really unique about them is it gives people the option of having either an electric boat or a hybrid boat. We all know we're not going to get rid of the combustible engine, at least in all of our lifetime. So it just gives people that option of when you leave the dock, you get to go, you can't go fast, so you use your electric motor. And then if you decide to go out to the Bahamas or somewhere further, you literally flip a switch, engage your diesel motors, and you're off and running. And we use solar panels, and I think it's pretty much one of the most environmentally friendly boats out there in the production world. And so that's just something that I think the future of boating is going to be going towards. And that's about it. I also have a really cool visual display at the end that you guys will really appreciate. It's not that I have ADD and I brought my Play-Doh, but it's something actually a little bit more useful. So, but glad to be here. And I think that if we all make little changes, everyone wants everything to happen right now, immediately, especially Americans. We don't like waiting for stuff. But again, it's going to take all of us a little bit by little bit to make a change. So
absolutely.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, Eddie. And Lauren. Definitely last but not least.
My name's Lauren Maudley. I'm the owner of a company called Ethical Yachtwear, a completely sustainable crew uniform company in the yachting industry. I believe we have my brand video that's going to be a bit of an explanation to the company. Yes.
The world's plastic issue is out of control, and so is the world's clothing manufacturing industry. According to the Institute of Sustainable Communication, the clothing industry is the world's second largest clean water polluter. The industry emits 10% of the world's global carbon emissions. That's more than international flights and maritime shipping, and further produces 21 billion tons of waste each year, with 85% of the clothing production in America alone ending back up in landfill. Given most of our clothing is now made from synthetic material, that means plastic. This is where Ethical Yachtwear comes in. We connect you to the solution. Ethical Yachtwear does not give back in one way, but in two amazing ways through our incredibly sustainable uniform. Firstly, every order you make with Ethical Yachtwear, we give back. 10% of the profits from every order made is given back to the company that enables people in developing countries on the front line of the plastic crisis to exchange plastic collected from our waterways and coastlines for money and digital tokens. This exchange gives people in need access to necessities such as healthcare and education. This plastic is collected, processed, and recycled into new products. Through this amazing system, poverty is reduced and plastic is repurposed. Secondly, we are giving you an opportunity to buy a uniform that does not aid in harming our oceans and environment. At Ethical Yachtwear, we only supply 100% organic cotton or recycled material, fair trade crew uniform. In the making of organic cotton, no toxic pesticides or fertilizers are used. This means there is no toxic runoff into the planet or the oceans. Every garment that is not made with organic cotton is made with recycled material, meaning we are not introducing any new material into our already overly saturated garment industry. Lots of our items are even made from recycled ocean plastic. We also make sure that every worker within the entire process from us to you is paid a fair wage, as well as provided fair working conditions. This makes Ethical Yachtwear the best, most sustainably giving crew uniform available. Take part in our mission to give back today. Ethical Yachtwear.
Well, thank you all. We wanted to give you all this introduction first because what each one of them do is really pretty intricate and very different. So as you can see, there is plenty of cross-section across the marine industry in terms of what's going on in the blue economy. So let's start getting into some of the details. Susan, the awards you were talking about before, some of the awards recipients. Tell us what the awards program is all about, and if you could give us an idea of maybe how many companies, or startups I should say, apply to it every year.
Indeed. We're about to open up our call solutions, actually, I think this month. So we have 3 $100,000 awards. One of them is called the Neptune Award. It's predominantly all things with the water. We see a lot of kelp farming. We see the wind folks applying under that. We then have a Port and Innovation Award, and that's a lot about, big tankers pulling into ports and their carbon footprint, the decarbonization of them, shore power, all kinds of things with batteries, things like that are the solutions there. And then we have an award that is sponsored by Wallenius Wilhelmsen. It's called the Orcel Award, and they just sort of choose the solutions that go into that. Depends on any one year what they're working on and what they're trying to perfect, and we sort of feed into that. And we offer that kind of sponsorship to our sponsors if they want a particular, or zoom in on a particular thing. We get a couple hundred applications every year, and we have a process for narrowing them down. We have a review team that get together on Zoom calls and bring it down to finally 20 finalists who we host in Fort Lauderdale the week before the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. And it's a little like a Shark Tank, not quite, where these folks get on stage and present, and then we choose winners for 3 $100,000 awards. This year, all of our awards went to folks from outside of the US. So we are global in nature. We have one from Spain, one from Portugal, and one from Tanzania this year.
Wow, Tanzania, that's amazing. So with the awards program and some of the companies that have received funding, you were showing us some of the names before and giving us some background on what some of them do. Can you kind of do a deep dive, if you will, into one or two of the startups that really impressed the judges, and where are they now?
Well, probably the number one that's hitting the news the most are those two that are doing pulling carbon out of the air or recycling carbon for synthetic fuels. One of you all mentioned about, we're not going to suddenly go all electric or all batteries. We're really going to have to look at ways of reusing the engines that we have now with using synthetic fuels and, help us that it's not all ethanol. So that's really the ones that I think impress us the most. Every year there's something that's a super favorite. There was a woman 30 under 30 this year who also has a synthetic fabric that she's doing using cellulosic material, and it's very much like polyester. I'm going to connect the two of you guys because I think you'll be able to use her fabric.
That's what I love about the Superyacht Summit. We have magic going on this stage as much as there's magic between all of you and them. Whoops, I'm going to take this off and hold on to it. And then one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Susan. Ocean Exchange is more than just the awards program. One of the things that I found so interesting is that your team refers to the organization as an ecosystem because of all the different partners. Tell us about some of these outside partners, if you will. Who are they and why are they so engaged?
Well, people want to give money to this blue economy. They're looking for ways of getting involved in the blue economy, and we offer them the opportunity to come either as part of the team that choose people in Fort Lauderdale or to be part of the review team. Our funds are non-dilutive funds. We don't take anything from these startups. We're just funding them, but the people who get involved, the people who want to be there as delegates or the sponsors and that sort of thing become part of the ecosystem. They may decide, they want to invest in one of the companies that are coming in and will take a part of it. They will invest it in a different way. So this ecosystem, if you will, is really the real sweet part of this, because every one of our semifinalists and our finalists are put into a book for them to be able to review and to determine, is this something, or is this something that I need or want to invest in.
Very good, thank you. Robert, just as startups need a lot of help getting off the ground, those of us who are more established in our careers and in our businesses need help as well. Education, as you were pointing out before, is a huge cornerstone for the Water Revolution Foundation. You have an independently accredited course that people can take. Now, I've taken it all, full disclosure, so I'm very familiar with it, but I know not many of you are. So could you talk about, first of all, why you're using the organization that you are to present the coursework, and also tell us why it's different, because any one of us could walk out of this room in an hour or so and sign up for sustainability education. So what makes this program different?
Thanks, Diane. So the educational course is about sustainability in practice. So the focus is on how to turn this into pragmatic steps forward for my company. So it's focused on land-based yachting companies. It is a accredited course by a Center of Sustainability and Excellence, which is a course provider to many different industries and companies. So they've trained, I think, 90% of the Fortune 500 companies. So they have an accredited program, but we work together to turn it into so utilizing the modules of the course, but customize it to make sense for yachting. So all examples are related to yachting. So it really resonates with the audience and participants of the yachting industry. So we combine, let's say, the narrative that we are all used to in the yachting sector with an accredited course program to really provide the participants with understandable content that really help a company either define a path forward or check in what they currently are doing is really in tune, create, let's say, a couple of nice exercises and frameworks to check which stakeholders on this particular topic should I focus on. So it brings focus, pragmatic steps forward, and not unimportantly, it gives a mix of people in the group that you can learn from. So you all of a sudden are with shipyard designers, marinas, suppliers, you name it, and you hear a bit from them. What are they running into? What are they struggling with? What are they already developing? So there's a lot of cross-pollination in that course as well. And it's 5 hours in total, and we divide it over 2 days. So it's 2.5 hours per day, and should be possible to take out of your agenda 2.5 hours. And there's a possible exam at the end as well, which is an exercise guided by the course provider to really come up with a sustainability plan for your company.
Very good. Yeah, when I took the course, we certainly had an amazing cross-pollination of people. I think there was a shipyard, there was a design studio, there was a supplier. So really diverse parts of our industry. And I actually learned, I think, as much from them as they learned from me. So it was really helpful. Speaking of learning, one of the things that really hit me during the course was greenwashing. I had never known that was the phrase, but in understanding more about it, I saw how it had been going on, and sadly, I saw how we had inadvertently actually done it ourselves. So when we are all out there during the boat show, when we are all doing what we do on a daily basis, whether we are putting out communications ourselves or we're engaging with partners, how can we identify greenwashing? So define what it is, first of all, because I don't know if everybody actually knows the phrase, but talk about what it is and how we can avoid it.
Okay. So greenwashing is basically that you overpromise and underdeliver. That's the most easy explanation that you can give. But it's the risk is that something is promised, which is not entirely true. It's part of it, so you limit the scope to something that, yeah, when you focus on that, it's correct. But if you look at the total picture, which is life cycle again, which I showed you earlier, then it's actually not an improvement, but you just shifted impact from operational phase to either the creation of it or the end of life. So it's very important to have the right approach there. But greenwashing is mostly unintended, and it's a matter of communication. And if you are able to prove what you are claiming, then there's no greenwashing at all. But you need to be able to deliver on that promise at some point in a credible way. Now, you could think, well, you know, greenwashing, okay, but it's not a crime. It actually starts to it actually starts to become part of legislation that companies and especially consumer-facing products that have environmental claims can be held accountable. And they need to show through third-party verification based on life cycle assessment that they actually deliver on their promise. And there are already some big brands in consumer goods sued for this. And this is regulatory development, and it's very easy to avoid because if you actually can show what you say you are providing, it's not a problem at all. But it's the lack of evidence, the misleading of consumers, which at some point can come to our industry as well. But that's the negative side to it. I think there's a lot of positive sides to things where you can, let's say, as a supplier of a product, you can really utilize third-party verification to do the selling for you. Because then it's proven, you don't need to sell it anymore, you just need to make it happen. And I think everybody is helped with that, including the buyers, obviously.
Absolutely. Now, before you were also talking about the Yacht Environmental Transparency Index. Let's make it easy and call it YETI. I know that's what you all use to refer to it. So it can be pretty technical because of what goes into actually determining the yacht's impact. But let's talk about it in layman's terms. Let's say that I am a yacht owner, for example, maybe an owner's representative, even a yacht builder. These are all the people who are in that inner circle and have the owner's ear. How would you describe it to me if I said, well, what's in it for me? What does YETI do for me?
So it basically visualizes the ambition of a new build project, for instance. So you get a, let's say, owner's team together, you define what you want to build as the ultimate owner. And you really want to show that you are taking efforts and a step forward to have an ambitious project. So it's coming out of the shipyard in 3-4 years' time and is really ahead of the time. But how do you prove that? How do you make an informed decision, whether it's, let's say, from a financial point of view versus an environmental ambition? So, okay, you look at the quote and you maybe see some cost that you think, okay, if I stripe out that, you know, it's going to be a good yacht. But if you stripe out technology, you don't know how much you degrade on the ladder of environmental credentials. So this tool is basically visualizing that and able to show you, this is the project as we defined it. If you cross out some technology, it's going to be not here, but it's going to be there. Is that still in line with your ambition? So it basically guides, and it's a reliable reference. So it's a very simple explanation. Yes, it requires technical data, but that's on the back end. And that's data that is available, should be available. But it's about the reference that you get and then are able to compare, okay, so I'm this much better than the average fleet in this size range.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, we were talking about startups before. Ethical Yachtwear was a startup not too long ago. Where were you in your career when you came up with the idea, and why were you so motivated to create your company?
It's a good question. I was a full-time stewardess for about 6 years, and I got on a very, very busy boat, working 24-hour shifts, 7 a.m. till 7 a.m., just sort of those nightmare stories that you hear that you hope don't happen but do, unfortunately. I think delirium does weird and wonderful things to the brain, and so I was listening to business podcasts in the depths of a laundry room over and over and over again. And I was working for people who made their own impact, really. So Tom's Shoes and Four Oceans were two emerging companies at the time that I was really, really drawn to with the give back business model. Tom's Shoes, who would provide a pair of shoes for children in Argentina, I believe, because kids couldn't go to school unless they had shoes. And so it was a buy a pair, give a pair model. And Four Oceans Bracelets, who were selling bracelets to fund large quantities of plastic out of the ocean. So I really, really wanted to create a business with a similar model. I started selling organic cotton t-shirts with a little brand logo I called the business one back. And I got an article in Dockwalk's Crew Created, and then it took like, as soon as the article came out, boats started contacting me asking if they could use my organic cotton t-shirts, raising money for ocean conservation as their actual uniform. I really liked my purple logo, so I really didn't want to change that. But I just realized that there was a demand for better, more sustainable clothing. I was about to go on an Atlantic crossing, so Ethical Yachtwear was built on a 12-day Atlantic crossing on very, very basic Wi-Fi, very basic website, and I launched it, and people just started contacting me asking if they could use my t-shirts for uniform, and that's how I was born. And yeah, 3 years later, it's a full, completely sustainable crew uniform company.
So what you're saying is the boats don't really need good Wi-Fi? No, just kidding. Just kidding, just kidding. So as your video showed us before, there are different pillars for ethical yachtwear. There is the materials aspect, there is the fair trade aspect, and then there's the giving back aspect. Tell us a little bit more about that giving back aspect, because I think that's pretty interesting how it actually comes full circle.
Yeah, sure. So I believe business should be used as a force of good. I don't think that we need all this money in our own pockets. I don't understand why that is a thing. But yeah, so really I just wanted to create a successful company that could be profitable, that could give a large amount of money back to people and I guess causes that need it. And to me it's quite obvious the ocean, considering that we work on the ocean. I worked in the yachting industry, so it made sense to involve both aspects. But I just, there's amazing companies. Like we've recently seen Patagonia give, I believe, $4.4 billion away to climate change. And like those things to me are the most inspirational business moments in history. And I just have a really desire or passion to create something very similar and just give back to our oceans. And I love the ocean and the marine life and everything. So I just can't see, while it's suffering, why we wouldn't do that, really.
And the organization is called the Plastic Bank, correct?
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So I spent a long time researching companies that I wanted to give our profits back to. And I came across this company called the Plastic Bank. They're a Canadian-based company, but essentially they pay people in poorer coastal communities with the digital tokens, as mentioned in the brand video, sort of removing the poverty aspect and paying people to pick up plastic. So I really liked how it had both sides of the coin there. It wasn't just about removing the plastic, but also changing people's lives. Through the profits, I think we've helped over 440 families now access to basic needs, healthcare, even just charging their phones and things that they just don't have, very basic necessities.
So that required, as you said, a lot of research to figure out who would be the right partner, and everything else that you've done in terms of fair trade, in terms of the materials, also required a lot of research. When you were looking at your partners, was it a challenge to find ones who shared your ethos?
So I think we partner, the Plastic Bank, I feel like intuitively in a way, you can see transparently what companies and where their hearts are and their desires are. And like some companies will say they're, fair trade or organic or something, and maybe their material is, but I really strive to find partners that are above and beyond. It's not like they do it because it looks good, that they actually genuinely really want to do it. Like one of our partners with our t-shirts is actually raising the minimum wage in the countries that they work in terms of textiles. So things like that stand out to me, that they're just not making sure they're getting their minimum wage, they're actually trying to change the economies in these areas. So to me, it's more just not finding the basic bare minimum, but actually finding companies that are going above and beyond to do what they do and really help and change economies and lives, really.
And in your niche, the crew, I would imagine, are the ones who are really driving the interest more than the owners, or is it a mix?
It's a bit of both. Like some of the chief stewardesses who have told their owners that they're using sustainable uniform, the owner's reception's been that, that's all they want to use from here on in. So that's been really cool, and it's sort of changing, presenting people with the opportunity that they didn't know they even had. A lot of owners are now like, well, that's all we would like to use. And then there's a lot of crew that I guess they love the oceans, and it makes sense to them to pick a better option, really.
Tony, crew members I know are a big driver for the International Seakeepers, maybe a little bit more so than the owners. They're the ones who kind of get the owners to say yes. When you are offering all the different programs that you do, and engaging the yachting community with the scientific community, how do you address the question from the owner's standpoint of what's in it for me?
Well, I guess the easy answer there is the things that you enjoy when you have a yacht. What do you like to do? You probably like to dive, or hopefully you enjoy things that are under the water, not just sitting on your deck sunning yourself, but you like to dive, snorkel, all the things that basically make it such a captivating experience. Being out on the water, being in the Cocos Islands or the Galapagos, or in our own backyard. I mean, we have beautiful coral reefs here in Florida, in the Bahamas, and all these things. If we don't do our part to try to research ways in which to preserve and conserve them, then they're going to go away. And then if those things go away, then who's going to want to be on a yacht? It's just it kind of, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't help keep the things alive and well, and which are the things that you enjoy doing as an owner. And then on a more forward-thinking approach is, these owners probably have children, grandchildren, and it would be rather selfish, and I hope that they can appreciate that the future that these grandchildren have, it might be a world where the coral is bleached, where there aren't any, tropical fish to go and see on a cool scuba dive, or I don't know. I mean, maybe there's even from a standpoint of fisheries, which yes, in a sustainable fashion we can consume fish and seafood, but if we overfish, well then we're gonna have a world with what, fake sushi? I don't know. I mean, that's not a world I want to live in. Yeah, so these are things that owners, rather than just, oh, cool, I get a tax benefit from the cost of the trip, which you do, and that's great. That's an immediate financial benefit. But in terms of, yes, getting more owners involved and wanting to help out, I would say those are the two biggest things. Is this is the world that you enjoy with your yacht, and this is the world that hopefully your grandchildren can enjoy later down the line. So.
One of the criticisms that we all in this room hear over and over again is that super yachts do nothing to contribute to society. Even non-super yachts, also yachts, they're just big polluters, they harm the environment, et cetera, et cetera. I know you have plenty of evidence as to the contrary to that. So tell us about the access problem, first of all, that scientists have, and then can you also give us an example of something that a scientist was able to do, or a group of scientists perhaps were able to do that they otherwise would never have been able to do without a yacht?
Yeah, absolutely. So, wait, sorry, the first part of that question I know is a two-parter.
The access problem.
Yes.
Why pair the yachting community and the scientific community?
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, that's an easy answer. There aren't enough research vessels for all the research that has to be done. I mean, we know like a speck about the world of the ocean, especially as compared to the surface of the moon or even Mars. I mean, there's a lot of mystery out there, a lot of things that can probably help us, for ourselves. There's a lot of, I know, pharmaceutical research that stems from marine research. But just in terms of understanding our world better, I mean, it's more than 70% ocean. So understanding the world we live on, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's best that we learn. But there's so much to learn and so much to discover, so much to keep researching and learning how to conserve what we have, that to do it with just the small handful of research vessels that exist, and I'm talking about, yes, the boats that are owned by either Woods Hole or other universities and academic institutions, that is just not enough. Most scientists have to charter their own vessel. Now, I'm sure you're all aware in this room how much it costs to charter. Yes, these are not yachts that they're trying to charter. They are research vessels, and they're a little more rustic, not as expensive per week, but it's still probably out of their price range because sometimes the funds that they have to work with are just not enough, or you put so much into chartering a boat that when you get back to the lab, you may not have all the equipment you need to analyze the data you collected. So that's where the help is needed, and that's where we lie and where we come in. So the access is extremely limited, the access to the ocean that these scientists need, and we're just trying to do what we can to make those links. Yeah.
And tell us about one of the discoveries that happened because of a yacht.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that, and this is just one number that I came upon recently, and here, I have it in my phone. Let me see if I can come up with it. But the worth of one shark in the Bahamas because of the tourism industry is now well above the value of a shark dead. So what that means is, let me see if I can find the number here. And you asked, oh, was this a discovery? Yeah, I mean, this is something that without marine research we wouldn't know. But let's see. So $222,335. Now that's an estimate, even though it sounds really specific. But for an average population of 150 individual sharks in the Bahamas alone, they've calculated that that's how much one shark is worth. Now, when you kind of scale that up, it's a $33.1 million industry for that country. And what we've learned with shark tagging and studying their migration patterns is that they don't stay within the waters of the Bahamas. I mean, it'd be great if they could. They're nice and protected there because it is a marine sanctuary. But sharks don't know that when they migrate from Andros to North Carolina to give birth, that they're crossing into unprotected waters. They just do what they do. They just live. And if we didn't know that they were making those kinds of migrations, then we wouldn't have the data to back up, okay, well, we've done well with the Bahamian Marine Sanctuary. Now let's try to take those policies and put them in other countries or extend those boundaries a little more. And I know that recently there was a treaty, a multinational treaty that was just signed to protect, I think it's 30% of the high seas, not just offshore, but out in the open ocean. So we're taking steps, and that's good. But yeah, I would say that learning just that simple fact that these sharks are incredibly not only worth a lot money-wise for the blue economy, because that's what we're all here talking about, but just in terms of the ecology and conserving them, knowing that they go all over the place. One individual can travel millions of miles. And they don't always land in protected waters, so that's a big one.
One other thing that you're working on, I know, is part of a massive undertaking worldwide. It's the ocean mapping project. What is ocean mapping, and how can all of us, between those of us who work with owners to designers, even shipyards, how can we all get involved in that?
So the easiest way is, does anyone here own a boat or know someone that owns a boat? Okay, there's a few hands. All right, good. So it's really simple, but what we're helping out with is an initiative called Seabed 2030. It's in collaboration with the Nippon Foundation. They're kind of the main funders. But what we're helping out with for them is the crowdsourcing of bathymetry. Now, what is that? That's a fancy word for mapping the bottom of the ocean floor. And that's important. Again, I mean, going back to what I said about knowing more about the moon and Mars and their surface, most of our planet is covered by water and ocean. So not knowing, what we call above land topography, mountains, hills, everything, not knowing those same data points under the water is, it's a big blind spot. And so in terms of ocean resources and knowing what tidal effects are going to be and current changes, all these things happen and start with knowing the shape and the topography or the bathymetry under the ocean. So now, yes, the ocean is extremely deep the further out you go, especially in the middle of the ocean. But in terms of near shore, those are the measurements that we can all in this room help out with, because all you have to do is put what we call a data logger. You install it in your boat, and all it does is records depth and GPS as you cruise along, and that data then gets sent to the International Hydrographic Organization, and they are the ones building this world map of the bottom of the ocean. So that's really it. It's that simple. It's just installing a small device, and you set it and you forget it. It's pretty hands off, and it really does nothing to disrupt your enjoyment of your vessel. But you are contributing data to this world map of the bottom of the ocean, which is pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, it's a big data gap. So, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. Richard, the geopolitical issues regarding teak are certainly pretty well known. You had said earlier that you've done a lot of work on sourcing alternatives. So what are some of those alternatives? And just in case anybody in this room does not know about what some of the issues are surrounding teak, can you also please talk about that?
You want the geopolitical issues first?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So most of the high quality superyacht teak that we've known and come to love for years and years comes from Burma. Teak grows all over the world, but the best teak comes from Burma. And it's really natural old growth teak, trees that are 80, 100 years old. And that's what generates most of the superyacht teak that we're all used to. Burma's gone through cycles of being run by the military to democratically elected governments, back to the military, back to democratically elected government, to an overthrow, a coup by the military in 2021, February 1st. And really it was kind of the last straw. I don't think in my lifetime, certainly, that we'll see Burma recover from that. So teak decking, so that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, we could talk about that all afternoon, probably not really worth the time. In a nutshell, we've seen the end of the runway coming. We were hopeful that Burma would get its act together in forestation. And they're really, really close, actually, almost able to convince the EUTR, which is the European Union timber regulators. And the US was pretty comfortable with it prior to the coup. Coup happened, so they're back to the Stone Age. And again, I don't think that will recover. So we've been looking at teak alternatives, and again, it's grown all over the world, but being teak snobs that we've been for 40 years building quality decks, we knew where plantation teak or lesser quality teak resided. We've been bringing it to our facility and testing it for longevity, weathering, adhesion to our glues and caulking and things like that for 10 years. Well, now we're forced into it, but we do have some background. We have history, so we're kind of ahead of the curve. And there's just, I guess really what you find is there's just a lot of really good plantation teak out there now. Certainly super yacht owners are going to have to change their expectations. That's going to be our job going forward, is educating not only the super yacht owners, but yard managers, yacht management companies, naval architects, designers, things like that. So we just have to educate them on what the new norm is going to be. Some of the alternatives out there are plantation teak. Some of the good stuff that we're finding is coming from Costa Rica, India, Tanzania, Brazil. Just got some photos from Bolivia, actually from a guitar maker. He's out there sourcing hardwoods for Prestige guitars. He knows us, so he's got teak on his plantation. So it's interesting the people you run into in this business. So anyways, those are some of the alternatives coming up. Another really interesting one is a product called green teak, and we're seeing a lot of activity with green teak. Green teak essentially is taking a really young tree, say 20, 30 years old, and they're veneering the tree, slicing the veneers, putting the veneers up on edge and gluing it together. And they're making teak battens out of it. That's coming out of Thailand. And that product is really, we've been testing it for 10 years. Good product, and we're actually signed a big contract for a super yacht that's going to be green teak, so we'll see how that works out.
You said a moment ago something that I actually would love for you to talk a little bit more about, the education aspect when it comes to owners. The conversations that I've had over the years I've been in this industry, typically are, well, the owner wants teak. And I try to gently push and say, well, do they know that there's something else they can use? And the answer always is, well, that's what the owner wanted. So it seems like there's perhaps a combination of fear to tell owners that there's something different, and maybe even a reluctance to admit that we don't know what we don't know. So how do we as an industry change that conversation? Where should we start to educate ourselves?
Ooh, that's a big one. We don't know what we don't know. That's a big one. And again, that's something that I'd say I'm really proud of the company that I work for and the work that they've done for the last 10 years. And that's not a promo piece. It's just that we've been digging in. So we do know, we do have proven tests. We've got exposure areas and things like that. But you know, the reality is, yes, we do have some superyacht owners say, oh, I just want, you know, what I've had always, I just want Burmese teak. And you know, we have teak available that we've been sourcing and inventorying for a while, both here and in Europe. But interestingly enough, we've been quoting on 3 super yachts for about 8 months now in Europe, and all 3 of them were Burmese teak until Met's trade show. All 3 of them changed to green teak or composite. 2 changed to green teak, 1 composite green teak. They're not sure what. So it's happening. It's Europe's a little bit ahead of the curve than we are. They're probably 4 or 5 years ahead, spending both time on both sides of the pond. I clearly see it. Here in the States, we're definitely behind. But where do we start with that education? Depends on the project. I think in a new build, it becomes easier. You start with the builder, you start with the naval architect, you start with the owner's rep. You start with that group, because they're going to be able to, they're the team that can convince the owner. And that's their job. Their job is to educate the owner. They've got the direct connection to the owner. When we're in the refit business, that's a whole different world. If it's a partial refit, then they're going to want what they have on their boat because we're tying into an existing deck. You know, we can do that. If it's going to be a complete refit, repaint after 15, 18 years, then we can start having those conversations with again, depending on how that structure is, we can either have it directly with the owner, project manager, you know, his naval architects, who we deal with all of them. And, you know, so we're talking about composites. We're talking about alternatives to Burmese teak. I hate to keep saying that word. And just giving them options, I think, is the important thing. Something we've been working on for a couple of years is getting people to stop putting teak in work areas like tinder garages, bows of boats where it's just all ground tackle. All those areas just get the crap beat out of them anyways, and you're replacing them every 3-5 years. Helicopter landing pads, things like that. Switch all those things to composite. They can take a beating, you can repair them, you can kind of move on. So that's just part of the education process, that cycle that's taking place.
With the yachts that are already out in the world, the thousands of yachts that have teak, obviously we don't want everybody ripping up the decks and putting new woods because that will kind of counteract the idea of something being sustainable and having longer life. Without getting too technical, I know you know tons about the subject, but how can we talk to designers properly? How can we talk to all the people in that owner's inner circle about extending the longevity?
We spend a lot of time with that. So it goes back to how you take care of your teak decks. In Europe, we belong to a group called A-Crew, and they do these get-togethers with captains and crew, different places. We just attended one in Villanova. We got another one in Astilleros, in Palma, Mallorca this week. And they're bringing in captain and crew, and we work with them and teach them proper ways to maintain their decks, clean their decks, proper products to use to clean their decks, so that it's not like a 2-part cleaner or something like that, where it's really degrading the wood at a lot faster rate, using gentler products. It's one thing we offer is like we're teak decking systems. We're systems because we build the decks, we install the decks, we have products to maintain the decks. And so we're just out there educating captain and crew, management companies on the proper care of their decks to extend the life. We want to extend the life. We don't want to unnecessarily rip up a teak deck. You know, as a deck builder and installer, you think, oh, that's all we want to do is pull up decks and put new ones down. We'd rather not. We get called a lot where we do a survey of a boat and survey of the decks, and the owner or the captain or whatever is thinking that they need to replace the sun deck, the main deck, and the swim platform. Well, the sun deck, yeah, probably the swim platform, definitely. Main deck, we're checking seam depths and things like that and saying, no, you got another 5 years on this. We can reseam it. We can do a lot of things. So we work hard at not ripping up something that is not necessary.
Right. Sounds good. Eddie, Electric Eddie, I should say. We'll get you a microphone in a second. From the conversations that you have with owners in terms of the all-electric propulsion or even hybrid, are they already pretty well educated, or do they come with a lot of questions?
A lot of questions, which is kind of interesting because everyone thinks it's either one or the other, like your car. Like it's either has to be electric, has to be diesel, but like with Greenline, and again, there's like I think one of the gentlemen said, it's all European. I think there's about 10 or 12 European companies that are making electric boats and trying to come over to the US. So it's giving people the option of one or the other. I think people are surprised. They don't know a lot about it. Greenline's done a good job of trying to get the word out there, but it's been slow going, so to speak. But people, one thing I noticed when I worked with Exshore was people that had Teslas or Lucids realized how easy it was to operate a boat. Most people are afraid, like, oh my God, I got the generator, I got the battery, I got this, I don't know what to do, and all this stuff. And you just plug it in and go. And a lot of these are just simplifying the process to make your boat experience better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. When we were all talking about some of the topics of this panel discussion, you had mentioned something that I thought was pretty interesting. There's a customer of yours who is retrofitting a yacht with solar panels, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that. Are they the typical solar panels we're accustomed to, or is it different?
No, they're Canadian solar panels. They actually draw more power than the Greenline, which I probably shouldn't say, but I think they draw 400 amps. Greenline does 300 amps, and it's all about redundancy, and it's about taking advantage of what's free. As long as you have sunlight, you know, like with the Greenlines and with other people that are retrofitting these boats with, you know, Vitron batteries and, you know, those type of things, you have a constant source of power. So for example, at the Miami Boat Show, we had a 39-foot Greenline that was not plugged in for 5 days, not at all. And it ran air conditioning, TVs, toilets, everything, and it never ran out of juice because we had sun. So, you know, if you don't have sun, or if you're in an area that has less sun, less sunlight, then obviously there's other ways where you can store the power, turn your diesel motor on, and your batteries can go from 20% to 80% in 30 minutes. Then you shut off your diesel motor and you're running all silent again.
With the owners having a lot of questions, I would imagine other people in the industry, on the industry side, I should say, have questions too. Surveyors are seeing more electric boats than previously. Insurance companies are dealing with it more than they've been dealing with it previously. Are we behind the curve? And are there solutions that are out there for some of the, let's call a spade, some of the fire issues that have come up? Are there solutions out there that the industry has not yet caught up to?
I would say that a lot of these fires, in my opinion, and obviously I'm not an investigator, but a lot of them are like retrofitted or people doing their own things. A lot of the manufacturers, Greenline, Exshore, a lot of these people have their batteries in bomb-proof case boxes. They're IP certified, so they can be submerged underwater and come back up. So if it's done right, you're not going to have any fires on any boats. A lot of it is just human error. One of the boats that caught on fire with lithium batteries was because there was a C-bob that was plugged in and forgot to be unplugged, and it was a crew member's fault, and that's what burned the boat down. So it's not just, everyone always says, well, why do you have batteries on water? It's like, well, every boat on the water has batteries. So, what's the problem? So, but again, it's just about protecting it and educating yourself on how the systems work. The one thing I love about the Greenline boats is, everyone's worst nightmare is your generator. It's loud. It's kind of like me. It's loud. It's obnoxious. It's smelly. And, and you want to eliminate that. And so, every 200 hours you have to service the boat. So if you're 5-6 days in the Bahamas, you got to service it. You know, Green Line has been, and they're not the only ones doing it, but they put their electric motor on the shaft, so as the shaft turns, it basically creates an alternator giant generator. So you eliminate the need for the one problem that, you know, not problem, but the one thing that everyone doesn't like, you're trying to go to sleep and you have all those sounds. So it's about basically taking a little bit at a time. You know, some of these boats, you're not going to go from here to the Bahamas on all electric. You know, that's not the boat for you. It's just, we're not there yet with the technology. But as my dad says, you know, you can leave and come in on the Holy Spirit to the docks, all quiet. Most people think something's wrong with your boat. You're like, no, I just have a cooler boat than you. And it doesn't smell and it doesn't have the fumes. So it's just trying to take a little bit at a time, you know, and that's why at the end, if you give me time, I have a cool demonstration. But it's just, it's everyone working together to see a problem. There's not one person that's gonna, you know, not even Elon that's gonna come up with some magic thing. It's just, we all have to figure this out together and we all have to be patient. And I know Americans hate patience, it seems like, but if we just work together and we're patient and we take it step by step, you know, in 10 years, we're gonna be way ahead of the game. I know the government wants everything done tomorrow, which is impossible. But again, if we just improve a little bit every day, you know, the electricity thing with the boats is about making the boating experience awesome. You know, it's about enjoying your time on the water. It's about spending time with family, memories. I mean, my best memories are with obviously my parents and my brother on the boats, and people need to experience that more. And the more your boat is breaking down, it sucks. There's nothing worse than getting everything together and everyone coming out. I remember on my birthday, I had a bunch of friends come out like, this is gonna be awesome. And then the boat didn't start and lost a lot of friends. But with the electric boat, you have so many redundancies that won't happen in theory. And you know, it's about making money. We all want to make money and enjoy boating at the same time.
So I have one last question, actually two last questions. I lied, sorry. For all of the panelists to answer before we get to the Q&A. Real quick, what's one small step all of us in this room can take to make a difference? Susan.
This is where my example is going to be great.
Perfect. We'll have you go last then. I'll have you go last then.
One small step. Gosh, I can't even think. You have to go to someone else first. I can't think of what the one small step would be. I did read in that New York Times article about how, I guess, taking less air flights is really the one that we can all do. Sadly, since we all do it.
Tony, what would you say? What's one small step people in the room can take?
One small step. I guess, again, if you know someone with a good-sized boat that can facilitate some marine research, you know, just, sorry, one expedition would be great. A few would be even better. But really, it's fun for everyone involved. So, yeah, one small step.
Lauren.
I purely believe that just the thought process. It's just our first thought. Everything we do impacts each other or the planet or something around us. And every time we buy something or do something, just to think, is this impacting the environment? Is this impacting the people around us? And I think it just really starts from our own individual thought process. And then every small step, as cliche as it sounds, does equate to a bigger picture. So that's my belief.
Robert.
I echo that for sure. I would also say what you can do as an own business is to request better solutions from your suppliers and give better solutions to your customers.
Richard.
I'm pretty distracted with Play-Doh in my hand. It's been a while. Can you eat this stuff? Anyways, I heard you can.
Let's not try that right now, okay? Don't eat it right now. We need the props.
Okay. No, it's education. It's educating. Again, our team, our employees have been kind of at the forefront, oddly enough, through education and trying to give back. In 2019, we did some stuff with the Nature Conservancy, giving back to the people of Burma and reforestation and preservation of elephants and things like that. So we've already had it at our DNA level at Teak Decking, which is really, really cool. And we all recognize now it's just educating what we talked about earlier, our customers, you know, that vast group, that wide array of our customers, and getting them on board with the changes coming.
Eddie, I'm dying to see what you're going to do with the Play-Doh.
So what I was trying to do, is we all have. Thank you. We all have our ideas, right? So I know this is cheesy, and my kids will probably be super pissed, especially when this all gets ruined. But we all have our ideas. So everyone wants this snowball coming down. But if we take our one idea, and we put it together, it's supposed to be cute. Then we make a giant snowball, and the giant snowball is filled with different colors, different ideas, different aspects. So yes, my idea is small, even though size doesn't matter, they say. But as we then add to this, it gets bigger and it gets more momentum. So again, we cannot change the world today, believe it or not, but we can change the world tomorrow, and we can make everything a little bit better every day. And so all of a sudden, your little idea turns into a giant pelota.
I love it.
If you could separate that back, that'd be awesome.
That might be a little bit of a problem.
If you're hungry, go ahead. So, and if anyone would like, since I have the microphone, sorry. If anyone wants to check out the awesome green line boats that are hybrid and electric, ask for Electric Eddie. We also have Alva, which is a true silent, well, it actually came in today, so it won't be in the boat show, but it's a true silent, all electric, solar paneled power cat. That's not gaslighting or greenwashing. It's legit. I'm not mentioning other companies, but anyway, so come check us out, because it just gives people another aspect. You can enjoy your boating without pissing your neighbor off, without making your partner smell the fumes and all that stuff, and you can really enjoy and make good memories.
Okay, and one last question before we open the floor up to all of you. Another small step, this time owners. What is one small step that we can use to encourage owners to also take the lead in being a better proponent of the blue economy? Susan.
Well, just making them conscious of the fact that there is this opportunity, and I think that's, all of us can do that. All of us can introduce little things that they can do and spread the word.
Eddie?
Buy a boat for me. No, I'm just kidding. But just, again, educating the people that, you are going to have to use some fossil fuels. But, for example, when you plug in, some of these boats, an X-Shore, for example, I know they're probably mad at saying that, but you plug in the boat in a 30-phase, a single-phase 30-amp, shore power cord, it's $13 on your FPL bill versus going to, a gas station or a fuel tank and putting 100 gallons of diesel in at what, like $5, $6, $7, whatever it is nowadays. So yes, there's no magical fairy making, riding a bicycle, making the electricity, but it's less. So it's about using less and experiencing more.
Yeah, good one. I may have already said this with my previous answer, but a different sort of variation on that theme is just understanding, as an owner, you have this thing that is just, hemorrhaging money from your bank account, and when you're not using it, it's still hemorrhaging money from your bank account. But when you're not using it, rather than just, spending on dockage and carrying costs, do something good with it. Or even better, go along on the expedition with these scientists and learn something and experience something cool and adventurous. So, yeah.
I think a bit like what Susan was saying, just sort of consciousness and awareness, just presenting the opportunity to the owners, that there is a better opportunity, and then just trying to get the owners to see that there's almost virtually a better option for everything nowadays if you look for it, and or just buy from the people who are trying to do better. Just start from the very beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing luxurious about environmental impact. So I think embracing solutions, better solutions, not exploiting the already almost extinct materials is something that should be a new ethos in yachting. We're about exploring and enjoying the oceans. Then it doesn't rhyme with having a negative impact. Be a force for positive change.
kind of tying into what Plato Eddie said over there on plugging a boat in. Teak, as beautiful as it is, takes a lot of maintenance, a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of these alternative woods are so much easier to maintain. So if we can educate them on a simpler, more hose and go option, same feel, same look, but slight differences, gives them an opportunity to make a different decision.
Very good, thank you. Okay, questions? Norma. Do you want a microphone?
No, it's okay. You know, I've done a lot of things in the industry. Most everybody knows me. I've just been honored to join the board of directors of the International Seakeepers Society, and I'm so glad to hear the great things that our director of programming, Tony, says. But previously, I used to work for Royal Houseman, and at the time, we were building a 58-meter ethereal by an American owner named Bill Joy and his lovely wife, and that vessel was one of the most seriously researched. He hired an ex-yacht captain, Captain David Wells, to research it for almost 3 years to look for the most environmentally friendly solutions that he could. That is what their goal was, to travel the world, to do good things, to work with seakeepers. They're members of ours. And they were extremely disappointed to find that all of the things that they wanted to do were absolutely not possible. That was the first vessel I was ever on where I saw a system where they had refillable bottles. You know, you go sailing for the day, they had your name on the bottle, and then it could be sanitized and reused. They made their own water. That part of it was successful. They went back to Royal Houseman several years. The vessel was built about 12 years ago, I think, or so it was delivered. And they still were so frustrated with the fact that they could not find the types of solutions that they had seen in other industries. They couldn't find them able to be applied to the yachting world that they had so much invested in and were so much looking forward to. So I've got a question for everybody here. You know, Richard, this applies a lot to you. I know Robert's been dealing with this for a long time. Obviously, Tony, we share that passion. The electric boats are great. I love what you're doing. We have some builders in the audience. Can anybody give us some examples of what they say are truly forward-thinking ideas and solutions for those owners that are out there that want to make a difference with their yachting experience as part of their yachting experience? You know, unlike what Diane said, Seakeepers works primarily with owners, although obviously by extension maybe greater numbers with their crew. But you know, this is a serious owner that wanted to do that, and there's other owners that would be really interested. So again, I'd really like to open it up to anybody that has any concrete solutions that we can offer our owners, because I truly believe that more and more of them want to do the right thing. They want to feel comfortable with their ownership experience. So I'm all ears.
I'll speak up real quick. We've been again, I mentioned it briefly, but we've been working on a couple contracts, but it's going to be a 100-meter new build, over 100 meter. And the owner made a conscientious decision to go with green teak. You know, it's a bit of a risk. You know, a teak deck on a boat that's over 100 meters is not a cheap item compared to the whole cost of the boat. You know, it is, but it's a very visual element of the boat. And he's biting the bullet. He wants to move to green teak, which instead of using an 80 or 100-year-old tree to make teak decks that last 20 years, it's a 20-year-old tree that's going to make a teak deck that'll last 20, 25 years. So there's one small case that I know of that's happening right now.
With the build team is to show them options. You know, there's tons of options for decking, there's options for propulsion, there's options for paint. So it really starts, like they say, at that very first meeting. And so that's what we're doing. So I don't need this. Are you finding more owners are seeking those kinds of solutions? I think so. You know, it's an age thing. So the younger guys, they do want to do that. And if you have a good project manager that comes in, they're going to they're going to push him for that. Because we're doing one now that's diesel electric, solar, ICE class. I mean, he went down, we give him the options, he just checked every option. So that's the thing we need to do as builders.
What's your favorite environmental option for an owner? If anybody has the experience, it's you, Ted.
Well, Savannah should be copied over and over again. It's been proven, it's been a great boat, and a lot of people think it's weird as a single screw. It's not a single screw. We've got all these different options, diesel electric, and it was based on ethereal. Ethereal started it, and we copied it.
There you go. Okay.
By the way,
Another question over here.
Well, it's, as Ted said, there's even being said no now by the industry apparently, and that takes also the let's say collaborative approach. That if one is saying no on his own, it's going to be difficult. But if everybody is saying, okay, you know, we're yachting, we are better than this, and we want to be forward thinking, then we all make a collective statement in those things and offer clients a real solution instead of trying to repair existing experiences or thoughts. But it's also about rewarding better choices. So if somebody is sticking out their neck, say Bill Joy, 2009 this was, what did the industry do? Put the thumb up. He maybe got an ISS award. But nothing else happened. There was no recognition. There was very little learning from that project. If you are able to share, yeah, that was a Dutch 1 on 2. But let's say if that's open source, if that becomes collective R&D that now becomes available and is tested, then we are so much more accelerating together. Plus, if you recognize it, it becomes a new ambition or let's say new reference instead of ultimate luxury or cost or whatever is driving the clients. And it's emotional, it's clear, but let's keep it emotional. And if you add to a new project or even existing yachts that can do so much to elevate their current status, so to say, by a significant upgrade. We're in South Florida, this is a service industry. Here are boats being upgraded, so why not on the environmental credentials? If you do that in a guided way, in a, let's say, transparent way, we can really offer good packages for clients to invest in, show what the result is, and it will be rewarded not only in this score, but also by insurance companies, by financiers. They need to justify being involved and staying involved in the yachting sector. So there's also a corporate element to it where companies say, we need to see progress, otherwise we can't justify our involvement in this niche industry.
Or you can get a better salesperson. I can sell ice to an Eskimo, so don't worry about it. But one thing I was gonna say early, Play-Doh balls, yeah, sorry.
It's melting.
One thing I was gonna say earlier about what has happened, and I could be wrong, as smart as I look, but I believe Gene Machine and Gene Chaser, didn't the owner that come up with like the nose COVID test while he was on board? If anyone's ever been on Gene Chaser, he's got a freaking lab in his boat. Like it is the dopest thing in the world. So, but yeah, but that allowed him to do that by having certain things on the boat. So.
Yeah. Those are exceptions and not the rule. Let's make it the rule. Then it's really exciting.
A good point.
That's what we hope.
Any further? Oh, Monique.
I agree, and sorry to talk again. I agree, and one of the cool things, at least in the electric boat world, they all get together and be like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, can I help? How are you guys doing?" We all need to share. I'm so tired of people trying to get this freaking pie themselves. There's enough pie for everybody to eat. There's enough money for everybody's pocket. Let's all work together. If you have something, share it. Let you know, hey, listen, I have this product. This is working out well, or I have this, substance, this material. What do you guys think with it? You guys are doing this, we're doing this. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But they have to open the door and exchange. Ken Clinton at Intrepid is awesome because he's like, yeah, you got an electric outboard, give it to me. You got the diesel outboard, give it to me. I'll test the crap out of it and tell you what it's really like, and you can get real feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and as far as kind of spreading the example that you gave about kelp farming up in the Pacific Northwest, I mean, maybe that's something that is specific to that local economy, and it's taking something that, and you can do well by doing good, right? So it's making a business and a microeconomy out of something that is good for the environment. I think finding examples of that in other locales and what works for that location is really important. So, for example, I know someone who he's from Jamaica. He now is a marine biologist, and what he did there was some local spear fishermen, and they were spearfishing guides, and this is how they made their living. This was their livelihood. Rather than just wagging your finger and saying, "Hey, stop spearfishing and stop taking people to spearfish," he said, "Instead, I'm going to give you a GoPro camera. I want you to still shoot the fish, but not with a spear, but with the camera, because I need fish surveys for this reef. He needed data, and that's observational data." And he paid those gentlemen either equal or more than what they were making as spear fishermen guides. So if we can kind of pinpoint what each geographic location is best at, and sort of reward that with, or give them alternatives. So rather than saying your livelihood is bad, stop doing it, then they're going to say, no, I have to feed myself and my family. Doing it sustainably, or giving them an alternative thing to do that goes toward conservation, and they still have that monetary incentive as well. Everybody wins. So I hope we can spread your idea of kelp farming, or having policies in place for that.
Got to trickle down. If it's good for Lurson, it's good for the rest of us. You know what I mean? So once these bigger companies and everything, it's going to trickle down to the other ones because they have the money to experiment and do all the other stuff. So I think once these bigger companies, are coming out with all this technology, it will trickle down.
I think also, sorry to interrupt, but that we're slowly doing that. Like, we're all here right now. I mean, that's something in itself. We've been able to present our information to all these amazing people here, and hopefully that's got a domino effect. And within sort of sustainability in that market, I mean, I know each one of these organizations more or less. And then, for example, I have a friend who's a captain on a new build, and I've recommended International Seakeepers. And then Robert and I have been in contact before, and so we are all connected in a way. It's just developing that connection, spreading that connection, and I think events like these is sort of what's doing that, and just more and a higher volume, I guess.
If I could add one quick thing to that, Monique, as a member of the media, I find often that we're really good about talking among ourselves about what we do, but lousy at telling our story to the rest of the world. So I would encourage the group to, first of all, find who is a sympathetic voice, a sympathetic ear in the media, in your region, TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, what have you, online, there certainly has got to be at least one person, and their story opens the door. And then leverage that with the other communities that you talk to, maybe people in California, people across the country. People start to see these articles and go, wait a minute, hey, we're doing that too, or oh, why can't we do that? That's how progress often happens. It's a matter of making sure that more people know about it. Okay, we have 5 minutes, so we've got time for maybe one more question. Anybody in this side of the room that I did not get? No? Any other questions?
Here on the left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Fuel that you carry. Sorry, I'm hoping everybody heard that if I spoke loud enough. And on the micro level, we look at every single function of the vessel, the waste management and how that can be greener and better, the heat capture a lot of times during the waste management and how that can be better. In the midst of COVID, we've taken quite a deep dive into the air exchanges to make sure we're maximizing those for the cleanest environment. And we're finding that most of our vessels that we're testing are over-exchanged. That's energy that's spent moving that air more than it needs to be. Beyond just cooling it, just moving it more than it needs to be. So I think a combination of the macro and micro are the places to focus.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today and your patience. We had a big panel with a lot to cover, so we appreciate your intense concentration, and I'm sure some of you are going to have some more questions for our panelists, so they will be available for you to talk to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Voice of God. The panel, don't leave after this. I'm just going to do some quick wrap-ups. We want to get some group photos. Thank you all so much for coming out today. I have the answer for everybody working together. It's associations. Everybody joining together under the voice of associations. We can do a lot more as a team because we are individually strong, and individually each of these groups do amazing things, but together we are a powerful force. And unfortunately, it's like turning the Titanic in a bathtub. It takes a little while to move that needle when it's moving in the right direction. And if we all get on that same wagon, we're going to need a bigger boat and bigger batteries. So, yachting doesn't have to be the bad guy all the time. Showing that side that it's important, and it is truly something that's mattering to owners and to the industry, and that we're not these giant polluters. We create a lot of jobs. We create a lot of positive things for the communities that we spend time in. So it's a great opportunity now that we're going to also show that we can keep the water clean at the same time. So lots going on, and you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. We have a lot, as an association, education is one of our major tenets, and we're doing another summit type activity in the Pacific Northwest next month, April 25th through the 27th. We have activities going on in Newport in June and September. We're going to do an Inspire initiative in Newport this summer as well. I misspoke because I thought today was Wednesday. The Paella event is actually on Thursday, so it's the day after tomorrow. And on Friday, we have the Inspire initiative. Sorry if you did not register in time, and you might not be able to come because it's sold out. But it is something that started last year, and it has just taken off and taken wings, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. We have a great show this Friday with Dara Torres, a 12-time Olympian, the oldest member of any Olympic team that she qualified at 41, which is young for these days. Captain Sandy, etc. That'll be tomorrow. No, not tomorrow, Friday. All right, concussion brain. Thank you all so much. It's like one step forward is one step forward, and we can all make a difference. And that snowball, AKA Play-Doh, doesn't have to just be that. So Once again, thank you all so much to our panel, our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, I hope you realize and take care of them and make sure you appreciate all the efforts they do. So many members of our board stepped up, made that happen. Also to the incredible Lee Savage, here between two Yetis, and Tom Serio, if you ever need a photographer for your events, he's right there, Johnny on the spot. We couldn't do it without him. Julie Perry with our social media. Our team here from Nauticom, we are so blessed to have you all here. Make sure you tell your colleagues about US Super Yacht Association, and make sure you spend time and take care of their businesses as well. And Ethical Yachtwear, I know I'm gonna have to buy that jacket from you. So thank you all so much for coming. I hope you're gonna walk away with one nugget that you can do to make things better in this world. And the US Super Yacht Association is so blessed to have you all here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, successful, and profitable show, and be safe going home. And we'll see you at the show on Thursday, not tomorrow. Thank you.